Hey everybody, may the 4th be with you. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture for this year's May the 4th. And I've done this for a long time, so I'm going to not just show you one, I'm going to show you a lot of the Darth Vader stuff I've done because I have a Darth Vader suit. But I'm married and I don't live in my parents' basement, so good for me.
filmandlearning.com.
Okay, we're going to start with this picture. It's basically a picture of Hawaii that had lava going into the Pacific Ocean, and I thought water and lava, that really seems to fit the MO of like Darth Vader. And if you look at a lot of the sci-fi posters that are out there, there's always some dramatic scene, and in the background there's the star field. So I got this picture that I'm moving here right now that is the Milky Way. It's from the Hubble Space Telescope, and I'm going to stick it in the background there by overlaying the lava field over, basically sandwiching the star field between the background and another copy of the background, and then I'll grab an eraser and make it really soft and decrease the flow and just like really start to just kind of polish in that star field. So you'll notice I'm not using Photoshop. This is something that I've done recently just to see how it works. I am a certified Adobe instructor, but I also disagree with their business model, which is their subscription thing. Like, it just really shouldn't be that for most people. They should be able to get along with tools that are free or just a one-time purchase. And a lot of my clients, business people, don't want to have to pay a monthly fee so that they can edit their stuff, and so that's why I'm using Affinity Photo here, and it actually works really well. Like, I'm tempted to someday switch over to it. It needs to build a little bit more, but it's probably good enough. So getting the star field in, I'm going to put another one in the back. I'm going to speed up through that, and I'll come back in just a second. Okay, now I'm bringing in some assets. I want to make some sort of like invasion scene here, stuff that tracks with Darth Vader. This is his Star Destroyer. I think it's called the Devastator. It's an awesome name. I at first am going to try to screen that because obviously it's a rectangle, and screen removes the black from the background. So I'm gonna try that. And see if that works, and if it doesn't work, then I'll have to go and manually cut it out. I don't think it's going to because the model is so high contrast. There's so much shadow. Yeah, that doesn't look very good. You can see through it. So I'll go through my options here and see what I can do. I do think that having a catalog, and I'll show you a few things here, having a catalog of assets I think is very valuable because I can go through this a lot faster. So I have all these models that I have shot pictures of or motion of in front of green screen, and then I can come back and import them into something like this without having to do that whole process again. Now, of course, I am a little bit of a Star Wars nerd, so I have tons of those assets just sitting around, and I can just draw from them and make this scene with Darth Vader. So I'm going to speed up here, and we'll catch up, and then on the other side of this I'm going to tell you about, and I'll show you my first Darth Vader edit. Okay, I'm going to do a little technique here where I throw some red over the top of some of these elements so that it looks like it's reflecting the lava coming off of the planet. And so you can see that. Watch this TIE fighter here as I do this. It turns bright red, then I turn the opacity way down so that you can still see the TIE fighter, but it looks like it's glowing. Just kind of, the idea here is just layer upon layer upon layer to just sell this effect of the whole thing, you know, kind of glowing. And if the planet's like super hot, then maybe it's glowing and it's hitting the Death Star as well. So yeah, the first Darth Vader picture I ever did was probably it was very rudimentary, but it was like the beginning of a whole thing. And it was, my wife made this like little sweatshirt for our little dog, which I thought was ridiculous. Dogs and clothes, to me, it's just dumb. But she was wearing it around because she was a like 7-pound dog and the runt of her litter and so forth. And I looked at that and I thought, she looks like a Jedi. And so I put on my Darth Vader helmet and I grabbed Zoe and I shot this picture, and then I did my very first lightsaber, which I was so proud of, which looked like garbage. But it was the beginning of an era of doing all of these Darth Vader things. And out of that, I've built an entire Darth Vader suit. Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker, is the entire story of Star Wars up until J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson kind of blew the whole... Well, they didn't even have a story. But it's all been about Anakin and his story. And so for me, he's like the key character in the whole thing. And so that's why I like the Anakin character so very much. So I've through the years done a lot of May the 4th be with you, and I haven't actually done one in like 7 years that is on this scale. I've done production video and all sorts of other stuff for companies, but I've never done one of these like little passion projects. So that's why I thought I'd share this with you. This is some sparks that I've got from a Forge video that I made. I'll put the link up above. And I'm going to lay this over the top of everything because I think it just sells the idea of like a lava planet and all of that. And just to throw that over the top of everything, I think is kind of cool. So I'm going to buzz through a few things here and then come back. Okay, my plan is actually to have Darth Vader on the left side of this screen, following the rule of thirds. And over his shoulder, I thought in front of that star field, I need a little more lava. So I pulled up this volcano from Guatemala off the internet, and I'm going to blend it into the background here. While I do that, other of my Darth Vader like exploits, I made an entire calendar, one for every 12 months, and that's kind of where I really started to hone this craft, I guess, of making these crazy Darth Vader pictures. And the idea was like Darth Vader in the real world. And so even when we announced the birth of my daughter, there was a picture that my wife shot of me in my Darth Vader suit holding up what was that? The ultrasound of the baby, a picture of that, and it says, "Look, I am a father." So it's kind of reflected like our lives to some extent, and it's just a cheesy, fun thing. I'm not really like that giant nerd. I am nerdy, but I don't know everything about Darth Vader. I'm not going to go off on the universe. I don't play the video games. I just think that character and that story is very good, and that's what I'm drawn to the most. Plus, I think he just looks amazing. And that's why I eventually built my own whole suit, which you'll see here in a second. So I tucked that volcano in there. I'm not sure I like it. I'm going to leave it for now. It looks kind of muddy and like flat. It looks like everything else in the image, and I want some sort of contrast. In fact, most of this image right now looks very orange, and I want some more contrast. But we'll get Vader in here, and we'll see what it looks like after that. So I'm going to buzz ahead here. Okay, here we go. I pulled the old Darth Vader suit out of the storage, so it's a mess, and it hasn't aged well. And then I had my wife shoot a picture of me standing in front of a whiteboard, and just really messy. But one thing I wanted was that lightsaber right in front of my right eye, because I like the practical effect of having the light from that saber reflect off the helmet, and that way I can make a digital and physical like effect that looks like the lightsaber is reflecting, which is what the modern movies do, and that lightsaber is a movie level prop. Here I'm trying to cut it out, and this is a tip, just a pro tip, and I kind of expected this when I did this because I was doing it real quickly, but if you shoot this in front of a uniform background, then you're going to be able to cut yourself out a heck of a lot faster. Here I'm just struggling to get it, and I'm just going to end up having to do it by hand. At this point I've already realized this is going to suck. And the picture looks terrible. Like I don't know. I'm going to make it look as good as I can. I'm just going as kind of quickly, and we'll see what we can come up with here. Okay, this is turning out pretty hacky, but we're just going to roll with it just because it's fun. Making the lightsaber here, if you look at a lightsaber, the core of it is white. And so the key is to put basically feather out a white rectangle over the top of my regular lightsaber here. And then I'm going to add a glow effect to the outside and to the inside that is both red. And I'm going to spread it out. So here I'm adding the outer glow, and I get it. You'll see I'll adjust the radius, which basically is how far out it goes, and affinity just stops at like 100 pixels, which wasn't enough, because if you look, it's way too defined. And so I just typed in 300, and there you get the glow. Now it looks better, and with the reflection that's already coming off the helmet from the physical prop and then the glow of the digital, it looks pretty good. Like I said, this is a hack job that I'm cranking out here in like an hour, and so whatever. The inner glow also is a red, and I made this one probably I usually make it smaller just to try and save that yellow or that white core. So this one's 200, and when you click away, look at that. That looks pretty good. I think there's a lot of color and lighting and stuff that needs to happen. I'm not happy with the volcano in the back that I stuck in there. I'm going to have to replace that with something. It just looks way too flat. I also don't like that off of Darth Vader's shoulder towards the spacecraft that I put in, it's kind of dead space and there's nothing to lead the eye over there, so I'm gonna put something in there as well. But for now, I think this is starting to look all right. A lot of this process is just rinse and repeat. Like, put the orange layer over it, feather things, and just keep doing that. I'm really only stopping when there's a new technique that I haven't already told you in this video. So it's a lot of just cutting out, feathering, and tweaking. And in this case, I'm just adjusting the levels here on Darth Vader because he looks too flat, too dark. I'm going to tweak this a little bit more, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I just thought, like on a whim here, I was inspired to put a Sith eye on the other side of Darth Vader. There's no real reason to do it, but in the remastered versions of the originals, you can actually see through the mask to the actor who played the physical version of Darth Vader, Dave Prowse, and you can occasionally see his eyes in there. I have had the honor of emailing with him probably 5 years ago. We emailed back and forth a little bit, and he sent me a photo that he signed. I forget what he wrote on it. It was something like, "You don't know the power of the dark side," or something like that, and then he signed it, Dave Prowse. But that photo, which you'll see right here, on one side was Darth Vader, and on the other side is his face. So, kind of inspired by that, I want to come in here and I want to drop in a Sith eye, and I stole Darth Maul's eye, and I'm going to put the eye in the mask, which is weird, it's unique, it's kind of creepy, it's all those things that make me like it. I think it's going to take a lot of fine tuning to get the eye just right. But I do like this. And again, it's just a matter of cutting it out, feathering it in with an eraser, pasting it, doing some color, and just getting it to the point where I'm like pretty satisfied with it. And then even then I'll probably come back and tweak all of these elements like another 15-20 times. But yeah, that's where this is going. It's going weird. Okay, we gotta add, of course, the classic Star Wars like font. May the Fourth be with you. That has to be here, and I think I'll do it in yellow, which is, of course, the classic look. Again, before I guess they kept the yellow in the new movies 7, 8, and 9, but J.J. Abrams screwed with all the colors for everything to fit every other movie he's ever made. So the bad guys are always red, and yeah. Pay attention to that. If you watch anything that J.J. Abrams has ever made, like he follows the same tropes over and over and over again, and instead of developing characters and giving you an actual story, it's just a ton of action. That sounds pretty jaded, but yeah, it's not great. One thing I did here with this background, all these sparks that came out of the forging video, I stuck an eraser over Darth Vader and I lightly feathered out the background so that you can see, like, the subject of the whole picture obviously is Vader, and I kind of just blew the background away there, or the sparks away over him so that you could see him better, but it still looks like there's sparks flying around everywhere. It's a very subtle thing, but it makes a giant difference. And now I'm going to tackle this background over his shoulder. I really don't like it, so we're going to mess with this a little bit more. I mess with the background. I don't know that I really like it, but I decided to move on. We need a leading line between Darth Vader and the spaceship. So I thought, let's throw in some laser shots out of this TIE fighter, and that will become the line that the eye travels on back to basically the things that represent Vader's empire. And so here, again, this laser effect is the exact same thing as the lightsaber. It's just a rectangle that I feathered on all sides, and then I put a glow on it, and that's about all it takes, really. It's like super simple. And the original films, they were film, and so they would pull the film out and they'd use a pencil eraser and erase that part of the film and then color it. This is kind of a way of doing that. It's just doing it in reverse by putting something on top. It's the exact same concept. And so we'll put a few of these in here and get them all kind of lined up and glowing and beautiful, and we'll see what we can do here. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm going to make one of these, and then I can make multiple copies of just the one, which will save me time. So buzz ahead for just a second. Okay, freaking J.J. Abrams. I started making those laser blasts for that TIE fighter, and I made them red instead of green. Now, to be fair, for the purists, because there's going to be some hater in the comments, there's supposedly a new empire and everything under Kylo Ren and the blah blah blah. So they could be red, whatever. I'm just saying that, like, I think green works better because it does. And you can have your opinion, but it's wrong. So I decided to just delete the whole background that I was hating a lot on here, and it makes sense to put in Darth Vader's castle. It's on, yeah, I mean, it's just like perfect. It's the lava planet and so forth. So I'm gonna mess with this a little bit and throw Darth Vader's castle in there. See if I can blend it into the background of Hawaii. And the other thing that I forgot to mention about these laser blasts coming out of this TIE fighter is they provide that leading line that I was after that leads the eye from Vader to the force that he has. The other thing I did with them was as the laser blasts get closer to the viewer, us, they get wider and longer, which makes the feather on them softer and softer, which would make sense. As the energy dissipates through the atmosphere, it gets softer and softer. So I just did that to add some perspective, but then also to provide that leading line and a nice contrast to everything else in this image that is red and orange. See, that's another reason to do that. Okay, here we go. I got Darth Vader's castle in there. It ties in nicely with one of the streaks of lava on the island. And there's the Darth Vader thing. I want to talk about the sparks that I put over the top because this is a key. When things like don't look like there's too contrasty or whatever, you can throw a layer over the top of everything to unify the look of everything to some extent. I mean, your base work, your foundation has to be good too, but you can throw that over the top and at least sell the idea. And that's what I'm doing here. This is a quick hacky edit, but it still kind of sells this concept of like this epic place where there's lava everywhere, and so that layer over the top can really unify a whole composition, which is also true in video. So to get a uniform look for different scenes in video or something like that, I will put a different color over different scenes to keep them looking good. I'm going to do a few more tweaks here. I'm going to show you the still image that I end up with right now. This is basically done. All right, thanks for sticking with me through this. If you like that image and you want to share it as like happy, May the 4th or whatever, I'm going to put a link down below where you can just download that and then share it as you like. If you would, I would love it if you would tag me in it, which is at filmandlearning.com, and that's on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram and on TikTok. So go ahead and share that. Download it, whatever, it's free. And I encourage you, if you're into video and you're seriously thinking about doing more video for a business, for yourself, and it may not be a creative thing like this, it's really good to do these exercises though, because you learn the skills necessary to make a composition like this. And to do it in a still form like this photo is even better, because you learn that before you have to then add the added stress of like, let's animate this. Let's have that TIE fighter physically shooting and having lava splash up and the water ripple and all sorts of stuff going on in this image. If you can do it in a still, then you can start to build on those skill sets. And again, it comes back to just practice, practice, practice. So thanks for sticking with me through this one. We're not quite done. I have some more videos that I'm going to put up here for you, including one which is a dancing Darth Vader, which uses all the skills that I used in this still image, but in a moving format. And you'll see a lightsaber moving and all that sort of thing too. So thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you in the next one.